Trawl fishing is one of the most popular and industrial fishing methods, widely used in large sea areas. This process begins with the preparation stage of the fisherman, when the fishing boat is fully equipped with fuel, food, fresh water, GPS positioning devices, radar and radio communication systems to be able to operate for many days at sea. On the deck, the trawl net is carefully checked to ensure that it is not torn. The knots are secure, the buoys, the weights and steel cables are all working properly, because just a small mistake can ruin the whole trip. When the ship leaves port, the captain and crew closely monitor the weather, currents and seasons to determine suitable fishing grounds, usually areas with large fish reserves such as deep waters offshore or near the continental shelf. Upon arrival, the ship slows down, the sailors deploy the net, and gradually lower it into the water. The trawl net is huge, with a wide mouth and wings that open thanks to the force of the water and large wooden panels called net doors. Allowing it to cover a large area of the seabed or the middle layer where the fish schools gather. When the ship begins to move at a steady speed, the net is stretched, forming a giant bag that carries the schools of fish. This process can last from several tens of minutes to several hours depending on the fish stock and the target of exploitation. Meanwhile, the sailor continuously monitors the signal from the fish finder, adjusting the direction and speed so that the net always operates at the desired depth. When the net is full or shows signs of getting heavier, the sailor begins the net collection process. This is a difficult and dangerous stage because the weight of the net and fish can be up to tens of tons. The hydraulic winch system is started, gradually pulling the net onto the deck with the screeching of the cable and the roar of the engine. When the last net bag is lifted, thousands of still struggling fish are dumped onto the deck, creating a chaotic but exciting scene. Fishermen quickly sort, cool and preserve the fish in freezers or ice to keep them fresh. This work must be done quickly because the output is so large, requiring the coordination of the entire crew. Once completed, the net is checked, any tiers patched, and prepared for the next pull. The trawling process is repeated many times during a trip, sometimes lasting weeks or even months. Although it brings huge yields, this method also poses many environmental problems such as destroying the seabed ecosystem and catching many unwanted species. Therefore, today many countries have applied strict regulations on mesh size, fishing areas and seasons to minimize negative impacts, while protecting sustainable aquatic resources for the future. With these efforts, trawl fishing continues to be one of the important pillars of the global fisheries industry, closely linked to the lives of millions of fishermen across the oceans during the operation. Each member of the ship has their own task and the smooth coordination between them determines the success of the sea trip. The captain plays a central role. Constantly monitoring the nautical chart, positioning equipment and fish finder to decide when to drop the net, pull the net and change the direction of travel. The mechanics are responsible for operating the engine, hydraulic winch system and timely repair when problems occur, because if the engine stops working in the middle of the ocean, the entire trip can fail. Sailors working directly on the deck often have to face dangerous situations, especially when pulling in nets weighing tens of tons. The tight steel cables can cause serious accidents if suddenly broken. The work requires not only health but also dexterity, agility and high team spirit. Meanwhile, another group is responsible for sorting the fish, separating species with high economic value such as mackerel, tuna, hairtail, squid from less valuable species. Some seafood is cleaned and frozen right on the ship using a deep freezer system so that when it arrives at port, it still retains its fresh quality. On large modern ships, there is also an on-site processing and packaging line, turning the ship into a floating factory in the middle of the ocean. However, long sea voyages are often associated with countless difficulties. Sailors have to work in harsh conditions, with hot sun during the day, cold wind at night, and big waves and strong winds always lurking. Whenever there is a storm, the ship must quickly collect the net, find shelter or ride the waves away from the storm center, which requires courage and experienced skills. In addition, being away from home for many weeks at a time also makes the fisherman's mental life difficult. They can only contact their families via radio or satellite devices. In return, the greatest joy is when they catch a net full of fish, signaling a successful trip. When the ship's freezer is full, the crew returns to port in joy. Each crate of fish is unloaded and transported to the wholesale market or seafood processing plant. The results of many days of hard work in the ocean not only bring income to the fishermen's families but also contribute to providing an important food source for domestic and foreign markets. Therefore, trawl fishing is both arduous and dangerous, but also a source of pride for those who have spent their lives attached to the sea in addition to the practical aspects of the profession. Trawling also reflects a broader picture of the relationship between humans and the sea. For generations, fishermen have learned to rely on traditional experience combined with modern technology to search for aquatic resources. On large trawlers, satellite positioning systems, fish finding sonar, depth sensors and even underwater cameras are installed to optimize fishing efficiency. This allows the captain to know the exact depth, fish density and movement direction of the fish school, so that he can drop the net at the right time and place. Compared to the old manual methods, this progress has helped to increase production many times over. However, the increase in efficiency also means great pressure on marine resources. Many fish species are at risk of overexploitation. Especially those with high economic value. Therefore, in recent years, the concept of sustainable fishing has been emphasized, with regulations on mesh size to allow young fish to escape, limits on catches, as well as the establishment of no fishing areas during the breeding season to conserve resources. In many developed countries, governments have also applied electronic control systems, tracking fishing vessels via satellite to prevent illegal fishing activities. In addition, scientists have also participated in research and proposed improvements in trawl net design to minimize the accidental capture of unwanted species such as sea turtles, dolphins or sharks. In fact, fishermen are gradually realizing that responsible fishing will ensure long-term livelihoods for themselves and future generations. The image of trawlers cutting through the waves to go offshore, silvery white fish loads pouring onto the deck, and sailors working hard in the salty sea breeze is not only a story about making a living. But also a symbol of resilience and attachment to the ocean. Every sea voyage is a journey that combines hard work, intelligence, courage and faith. Because amidst the vast waves and storms, people still find ways to survive and develop thanks to the generosity of the ocean. In fact, when observing a trawler operating in the middle of the ocean, one can fully feel the hardships, difficulties, but also the spirit of this sea profession. Before the sun rises, the crew has started working, ready for new catches. The sound of the ship's engine blends with the sound of the waves, the sound of the steel cables screeching when the net is dropped, all creating a majestic melody of the ocean. When the net is pulled down, the ship must run steadily for many hours. The captain and technician do not take their eyes off the fish finder screen, while the sailors are always vigilant to monitor the cables, buoys and net doors to promptly handle any problems. There are times when the net gets stuck on a reef or coral reef. The whole crew must work together to find a way to untangle it. Otherwise, the entire net worth hundreds of millions of dong could be lost. When the net is collected, the tension and excitement rise. All eyes are on the heavy net bag being pulled up to the surface of the water. The moment the fish poured onto the deck was the moment the whole ship came alive. Sweat dripping down the back of their shirts, but smiles still spread across the fishermen's sunburnt faces. Then, each group of people quickly sorted the fish. Some put the fish in ice trays. Others recorded the output, all taking place urgently and professionally like in an industrial chain. When night fell, after hours of continuous work, the fishermen gathered together in the ship's hold, having a quick meal of braised fish, hot rice and salty soup. Outside, the ocean was still rolling. The wind was whistling through the mast. But inside the hold, the sound of bustling conversation, the sound of an old guitar someone had brought along, somewhat dispelling their homesickness. Those simple moments became the motivation for them to continue to persevere at sea. And so, day after day, the trawler sailed on distant fishing grounds, carrying with it the hope and aspiration to conquer the sea. And finally, when the trip ends, the ship docks amid cheers. Each crate of fresh fish is unloaded, brought to the fish market or processing plant, becoming an essential food source to feed millions of people. That achievement is not only measured by the tons of fish brought back, but also a testament to the determination, perseverance and indomitable spirit of those who have devoted their lives to trawling and the vast ocean. Each trawling trip is not only a journey of labor but also a test of will and the bond between man and nature. Experienced fishermen often pass on valuable experience to the younger generation on board. From how to observe the color of the seawater to predict the flow of fish, how to look at the seagulls to determine the location of the floating fish, to how to tie knots on the cable, and how to handle the net when there is an accident. This knowledge is not found in books, but is accumulated over many years of drifting on the waves. On board, the bond between the sailors is also formed naturally through hard working hours and moments of sharing difficulties. They consider each other as family, ready to help each other in dangerous situations, because just one person's carelessness can affect the safety of the whole crew. Although the trawling profession is difficult, it also creates a special pride. For fishermen, conquering the sea and bringing back holds full of fish not only has economic significance but also demonstrates the bravery and resilience of people in the face of vast nature. In many coastal fishing villages, trawlers have become symbols of strength, faith and livelihood. Children grow up watching the ships leave port. Women patiently wait for their husbands and children to return, and the elderly recount their old trips, all creating a unique cultural feature associated with the sea. Trawling is therefore not only a profession, but also a part of the life of the fishing community, a bridge between tradition and modernity, between labor and solidarity, although knowing that the sea always has many potential dangers. From sudden storms, big waves, broken machinery to the risk of depleting fish stocks, fishermen still choose to continue their journey. They believe that with experience, diligence and the spirit of sticking to the sea, the trawl nets will continue to be cast into the ocean, bringing back a source of life and lighting up the flames of hope on shore, where families and homelands always follow each ship far away. Behind the nets laden with fish is also a story about the interdependence between humans and the ocean. The ocean gives fishermen abundant resources, but at the same time challenges them with unpredictable dangers. Many times, a trip lasting dozens of days, the ship may not encounter a large school of fish, causing all the effort and expenses spent to be almost wasted. It is this uncertainty that makes the trawling profession always tinged with adventure. But fishermen are not discouraged, because they understand that the ocean is never completely closed. As long as they persevere, opportunities will come. In fact, there are trips that seem to fail, but on the last day, the ship encounters a giant school of fish, and just one catch is enough to make up for all the previous difficulties. Those moments are called sea blessings by fishermen, a reward for those who persevere at sea. Economically, trawling plays an extremely important role. The output caught by this method accounts for a large proportion of the total global seafood output, becoming the main source of raw materials for the processing and export industry. Containers of frozen fish, fillets, canned goods or surimi can all originate from offshore trawling trips. This creates jobs not only for fishermen but also for tens of thousands of workers in coastal factories, contributing significantly to the national economy. However, behind that prosperity is the pressure to conserve resources. The massive development of large-capacity trawling vessels has made some once abundant sea areas poor. Corals have been destroyed, and ecosystems have become unbalanced. Therefore, many international organizations and governments are calling for the application of more environmentally friendly fishing technologies, the development of artificial fishing grounds, and increased monitoring to prevent overfishing. Despite many challenges, trawling still exists and develops, because it is not only a way to make a living but also a symbol of human will before nature. Each ship going out to sea is a testament to the desire to conquer the sea, to the spirit of dedication without fear of danger. And when the ship docks, the full holds of fish not only bring income, but also light up the faith, unite the fishing village community, and nurture a maritime culture that has existed for hundreds of years. The impact of trawling on the marine environment is a matter of particular concern to many scientists and conservation organizations. When giant nets are dragged across the seabed, they can drag along not only fish but also other creatures such as starfish, sea cucumbers, crabs, clams, and even destroy coral reefs that have existed for hundreds of years. The fragile seabed ecosystem can be devastated after just a few trawls, leaving desolate, bare seas. In addition, the phenomenon of bycatch, that is, catching unwanted species, is also common. Many rare marine animals such as sea turtles, dolphins, and small sharks are accidentally caught in the nets and die, reducing biodiversity. These images have prompted the international community to introduce stricter regulations, forcing fishing vessels to improve their methods to minimize damage. Some solutions have been and are being applied, such as redesigning the mouth of the net to only allow certain sized fish to enter, adding escape hatches for turtles and other large creatures, or using the trawl in the middle layer instead of the bottom to limit the impact. In addition, applying production quotas, Banning fishing during breeding seasons. Establishing marine reserves and no-take zones are also important measures. Modern technology such as satellite positioning systems, onboard surveillance cameras and the application of artificial intelligence in fishing ground forecasting are gradually being deployed, helping trawling to maintain production while limiting environmental damage. For fishermen, these regulations may initially cause difficulties due to increased costs and reduced production. But in the long term they ensure that fish stocks are not depleted, helping them to stay at sea for many generations. Many coastal communities have now turned to the responsible fishing model, which means strictly adhering to conservation rules while combining marine tourism and aquaculture to diversify their livelihoods. This shows that the trawling industry is facing an important turning point: either continue to exploit without control leading to degradation, or change towards sustainability, both feeding millions of people and preserving the richness of the ocean. Imagine a modern trawler departing from the seaport early one morning. Before the night has even faded, the lights on the deck are already bright. The crew is busy loading fuel, food, ice and checking the machinery system. The captain stands in the cabin, eyes glued to the electronic chart, constantly communicating with the crew about the target fishing grounds. The ship's whistle sounds. The ship shakes slightly and slowly leaves the dock, leaving behind the fishing village gradually shrinking in the morning mist. On deck, giant net rolls were neatly arranged, ready to be released at any time. After many hours of cutting through the waves, the ship entered the distant sea, where the fish finder signaled a dense density of creatures. The captain